Here we are. We've clicked on the Parameters tab, and this is really a checking system. We're going to check that we have the correct price list. In your case, if you have a demo, it's going to be training. If you have a live list, then you're going to select the correct live list. If you have tax jurisdiction, you're going to make sure you check the correct tax jurisdiction. For these purposes, we're actually going to use a real live list. We're not going to use a demo list. And we're going to check the one that was done in October. You can actually see how the sales tax interacts in the final report. So we're going to put the actual sales tax at 8.25% and check it in. We're not going to have any filters because we don't want to filter anything out. We've got our overhead and profit at 10 and 10. That's been imported from our user preferences. The depreciation is set to recoverable, and so is our depreciation by system. These again are imported from our user preferences. Our max depreciation was also imported. It's going to be repaired by a contractor, which is the default. And we're going to depreciate materials only. We brought in the company header that we had previously selected under the user preferences for this group. If we wanted to change it, we could do so here and change it to a different header, or indeed we could add a new one, which is what we did in document modules, but we can add it here on the fly. Our opening statement, which we created earlier, we can click on Model and we can select the opening statement. Here it is, HPIC. Here's the opening statement that we created, and we click OK. We're going to replace the existing one. Yes, there it is. This is the one, the opening statement required by this particular mortgage company, and we replaced it. We were also given a closing statement as well, and we're going to click on that closing statement, which is the model. And here's our closing statement that has our explanation of depreciation. And we're going to click OK. There it is. So the opening statement appears at the very beginning of our estimate. The closing statement with depreciation appears at the very end. So that's really all there is about parameters. It's really just checking everything and making sure you've got the correct selections for the various texts, company headers, opening statements, and settings. Now let's move on and click the loss recap. Here's our loss recap page. Now you remember under coverage loss that we put in the 3 coverages. Here it is. This is exactly how we put them in. Whatever we typed in coverage loss appears here. If we type in just dwelling, other structures and contents, that's how it's going to show up. If we only have 2 lines, that's how it's going to show up. Whatever you put in coverage loss, here is what's going to show up in the loss recap. Exactly these headings. Here are the policy limits that are being applied, and here's the deductible. So go to loss recap, and this is the recap. Now as we start to create these estimates so that the total losses are going to start to show up here. Now you can appreciate, because we've got policy limits under each of these preset under the coverage loss page, that we can't exceed a policy limit. If we do, then that a policy limit is no longer we're no longer going to be able to pay that person, and they're going to exceed that policy limit. Now, do we stop making estimates because of that? Of course not. Our job is to evaluate and quantify all estimates regardless of the policy limit. It's just that that's when the cutoff comes, and that's when they don't get any more money from the insurance company. So it's important that we have our losses correctly allocated to coverage A that are under coverage A, to coverage B that are under coverage B, and those under coverage C must go under coverage C. This is called linkage. Now there's 2 ways we can do linkage. We can do linkage as we're going through, or we can make sure we do it at the end. Now it's our suggestion that instead of wasting time as you go through on each line item, is to ensure that you do linkage at the end using this system called Global Changes Wizard. With a few keystrokes, we can guarantee that every line item is correct. And later on when we do this estimate, we're going to deliberately make a few mistakes and show you those mistakes and then show you how they can be corrected using Global Changes Wizard. Now the last section we're going to cover in part 4 is going to be activity reports.